You let me down, Hattie. Over half of the fall plant starts are looking like this guy is right now. It's pretty sad. Broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, nearly every single Brussels sprout plant that I had planted diminished to nothing. Okay, long story short on what happened in the garden last night. Overnight, while we were sleeping, over half of our fall plant starts were eaten by what I am assuming is a rabbit. I noticed yesterday when I came out walking in the garden, I had been noticing some rabbit pellets that I knew I wasn't putting out there from our rabbit manure. I had been noticing some here and there in the garden, and yesterday evening when I came out and walked around, I noticed some of my strawberry leaves were missing. So I had decided I haven't been turning on I have a 2-wire electric fence that runs around the perimeter of my garden that helps somewhat to keep squirrels out of the garden. Just enough to where I can battle them to still harvest corn and harvest my tomatoes. But the thing with a rabbit is they're pretty sneaky. I turned it on last night. I hadn't been turning it on since our corn was gone, and the squirrels are busy with acorns and hickory nuts now. So I haven't had to really worry about them getting the remainder of our tomatoes. I turned the fence back on, but still, overnight, those little stinkers wreaked havoc on the garden. This really puts into perspective, I think, a lot about how people who live off the land or have had to in history, living off the things that you had to hunt yourself and grow yourself and find in the forest, forage yourself, then having something like this, if you were completely relying on this, then this would be detrimental. So it really puts that into perspective for me. It's very humbling. I have told several people, I talk to my family members about it all the time. In my garden is where I feel God. It's where I see all of His little miracles come to life for me in my garden. But it is also the place where I feel like He humbles me the most in my life. When things go wrong, it knocks you down a peg, but it also, it makes you think about other people and other things and the ways that you could be doing things different. It is very humbling. It's too late for me to start these plants from seed. What I'm probably going to try to do is figure out how to stop these rabbits firstly, and then try to find some fall plants to purchase somewhere here locally. Hey everybody. Regardless of what's going on outside, we still have some things to preserve. I don't want them going bad before I have a chance to do something with them. So today we are going to make Rotel. There are so many things you can water bath can, and things that you don't even think that you can do with your tomatoes or with your produce that you buy at the store. Go ahead and can it yourself. Today we'll be making Rotel. I use it mainly in chili, and then during the holidays or for birthdays, I put it in our Velveeta for chips and dip. Okay, let's talk what we need. We will need 12 cups of cored, peeled, and quartered tomatoes. 1 cup of finely chopped chili peppers. You could roast them if you wanted to. It would make it taste that much better. I'm not going to because I'm kind of in a time crunch today. 1 tablespoon of canning salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of dry oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of coriander, and per pint, 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid per jar, or a tablespoon of lemon juice. And then per quart, you would need 1/2 teaspoon of citric acid per jar, or 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm actually out of coriander. Neat little thing I learned about coriander though today is that it is actually the seed of a cilantro plant. I am going to substitute the coriander for some parsley. I don't think it'll make that big of a difference. All of our ingredients are going to go into a stainless steel pan. These are the tomatoes that I took out of the freezer last night. I let them thaw overnight specifically for this recipe. They're easy to peel too, just like the boiling them. They slip right out of their skin. I am going to, this recipe calls for quartered tomatoes. I don't really like big chunks of tomatoes in my Rotel, so I am going to barely process them in the food processor to try to get them a little bit smaller and see how that works. I really think I'm going to appreciate this consistency a lot more. Let's cut up our variety of peppers. Don't forget to wear gloves. A few seeds is okay. Okay, we have all ingredients except for the lemon juice or citric acid in here, and we are going to put it on the stove, let it heat up, turn it on high, let it come to a boil, and then we're going to crank the heat down and let it simmer for 10 minutes. While we're letting this get up to a boil and simmering for 10 minutes, we're going to prepare our water bath canner with the appropriate amount of water. We're going to get our jars ready and warm. We're probably going to need 3 or 4 pint jars. I'm probably going to clean up 5 just to be sure. You could do half pint jars too. Just do half of whatever citric acid or lemon you're wanting to do per those jars, and then can it for the same processing amount of time. I'm going to get my canning station ready and my lids and rings ready. Don't forget to stir occasionally. Don't forget to visually inspect your jars. Look for any cracks in the bottoms or warped, bent in edges, nicks around the rim. Make sure to always check your jars. Since I'm using pints, I'm going to be using a tablespoon of lemon juice. And I'm going to be filling my jars to a 1/2 inch of headspace. Debubble. Make sure the rim is clean. A clean new lid, or clean rust-free ring, and pop it into the canner. Now that we have those in the canner, we are going to process the pints for 40 minutes and the quarts for 50 minutes. After that, we're going to shut off our heat, remove our canner lid, and reset our timer for 5 minutes, then pull our jars out of the canner. I just pulled my jars out of the canner. I am finished with this. 4 jars isn't a lot. We don't use a whole lot of Rotel. I usually keep diced tomatoes, tomato sauce, and a ton of canned peppers, dehydrated peppers, so I can easily make this in a pinch. So 4 will be just fine, but if you wanted more, if you use it more than what I do, double the recipe, triple the recipe, you're going to be fine. But the lemon juice, if you do double or triple the lemon juice, you don't have to change those amounts at all. Those are pretty generic for when you're water bath canning anything with tomato. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. I hope that you try it, and I hope you're water bath canning more after watching my videos. I am going to ignore the mess that I just made in my kitchen and head outside and play with the kids. I'm going to try to find a solution to my rabbit problem and try to hunt me down some new plants to plant. See y'all later. I haven't had an issue with rabbits before, and I was kind of wondering if maybe it's because I spread so much of my own rabbits manure in my garden that might be why I haven't had an issue. And on these new plant starts, I have not fertilized them, top dressed around the plants with my rabbit manure like I normally do. So I was kind of wondering if maybe that might be a solution. I'm going to try that, but I also just read online, and I luckily had a bag I picked up on clearance at Walmart, that blood milk can actually deter them. They don't like the smell. So I'm going to sprinkle some of this and probably top dress a little bit around my fall starts that survived the holocaust of the other plant fall starts, and see if maybe I can deter me some rabbits.